Hello, good afternoon. Welcome back to class, 5th through 6th grade. We're going to start off with our sniglet of the week. I chose Tupperzoid. This is a noun, a mysterious monster who enters the dishwasher during the cycle and melts spatula handles and plastic bowls. Ooh, scary. Our Tupperzoid in our house likes to melt those curly-Q straws that we unwisely put in the dishwasher. So, public service announcement, do not put your curly straws in the dishwasher or the Tupperzoid will get them. I think they took two words here. I think they took the word Tupperware, if I had to guess. And I think they took Zoid like trapezoid, maybe. Trapezoid is a shape, but I guess it sounds like a monster. So, or maybe there's a monster with a Zoid in it that I just haven't heard of before. The Tupperzoid. Now you know. Our Shakespeare quotation is from Henry VIII. It's a history play by Shakespeare, a tragedy, of course. And the phrase is, "For goodness sake." And you may not have known this. You probably have used this, but this originally came from Henry VIII. At least he gets the credit for it. For goodness sake. Okay, this is Proverbs 17:5. It says, "Whoever mocks the poor insults his maker. He who is glad at calamity will not go unpunished." I think it's important in a writing class, we're talking about words and describing things, describing people, that we don't ever cross a line and mock people. Because really what we're saying is we're essentially making fun of the maker, which is God. And so never use your words to make fun of God's creation. Okay, now this week we are talking about the well-written paragraph. So last week we talked about a topic sentence. This week we're going to talk about a well-written paragraph, and I shared an example, and I'm actually going to edit it a little bit. Although I have to say, when you're a really good writer, it has already been edited, and I'm not doing this to criticize. I'm doing this to show you what I'm expecting out of you. So there's a couple things that he does that we are not going to do. But if you are a really famous writer, you're allowed to do it. Okay? Let's read the paragraph together. When Mrs. Frederick C. Little's second son arrived, everybody noticed that he was not much bigger than a mouse. The truth of the matter was, the baby looked very much like a mouse in every way. He was only about 2 inches high, and he had a mouse's sharp nose, a mouse's tail, a mouse's whiskers, and the pleasant, shy manner of a mouse. Before he was many days old, he was not only looking like a mouse, but acting like one too, wearing a gray hat and carrying a small cane. Mr. and Mrs. Little named him Stuart, and Mr. Little made him a tiny bed out of 4 clothespins and a cigarette box. All right, so the kind of paragraph we're talking about here is a descriptive paragraph. This paragraph is an excerpt taken from the book Stuart Little by E.B. White. If you haven't read it, you should read it. He's the same author that wrote Charlotte's Web and The Trumpet of the Swan. And you'll see the descriptive paragraph in fiction and nonfiction. Now, we haven't talked a lot about this. Most of this writing class is focused on nonfiction. That means, or I should say, you have creative writing and non-creative writing. And most of our focus is on non-creative writing. But fiction would fall in the creative writing category. However, a descriptive paragraph is used in all genres. You might use a descriptive paragraph when you're writing a biography. What if you're writing a biography on a famous person? Or you might come across a descriptive paragraph in an instruction manual because you need to know what a certain item is and it's introducing you to that item. You might come across a descriptive paragraph in a company setting where they're trying to describe a new plan or the history of an item. So a descriptive paragraph is very practical. and we are going to practice writing a descriptive paragraph. I chose this one out of this book, even though this is fiction, it's totally made up. Obviously, a man and a woman cannot have a mouse as a baby. But I wanted you to notice the form that this author uses and how well he executes it. So when you describe something, I think we tend to think you just got to describe everything that comes to mind. How it has hair and it has legs and it has, all kinds of stuff. Well, I want you to notice that in his description, there's a point. And his topic sentence really is right here. Well, let me make it even. The baby looked very much like a mouse in every way. That really is the topic sentence there. So one thing I do want to point out is this author does use be verbs a few times. Now, I would say that he's allowed to because he's a very good writer and he's proven himself. But just for sake of experiment, let's look and see if we can change these be verbs into something else. If this were your paper and I were helping you, I would suggest that you say, he stood only about 2 inches high. How can we change this one? This one's a little trickier. He was not much bigger than a mouse. I think what I would do is I would say, when Mrs. Frederick C. Little's second son arrived, everyone noticed he was not much bigger than a mouse. I think what I would do, it's hard to change this because it really is very well written, but we're just going to try it for an experiment. I would say, Mrs. Frederick C. Little's son arrived, period. And I would take out everyone noticed that, and I would say, not much bigger than a mouse. The baby looked much like a mouse in every way. And then I might add in there, everyone noticed. So I still get that I think that's a key truth because he's pointing out that it was very noticeable. So this is how it would read, and I would have gotten rid of all my be verbs. Mrs. Frederick C. Little's second son had arrived. Sneak that in too, period. Not much bigger than a mouse. The baby looked very much like a mouse in every way. Everyone noticed. He stood only about 2 inches high, and he had a mouse's sharp nose, a mouse's tail, a mouse's whiskers, and we just keep going. Do you see what we did there? So in your paragraph, I'm going to expect you to really work hard to not use any of your standalone be verbs. And as a reminder, those are am, is, are, was. See if I can write faster. Were. Am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been. Okay? Try not to use those as standalone. You might use them with another verb like she is walking or we are eating, but not just we are a big family, okay? So that is really difficult to do. Very, very difficult. In fact, the way I do it is I normally write my paragraph with whatever be verbs I need, and then afterwards I go back and I adjust it just like I did right here. Your homework assignment. Choose one of your topic sentences from last week's assignment and write a very tight, neat, organized descriptive paragraph. Pick one, if you're writing about your mom, for instance, one characteristic, and have every detail you include prove to me why that one characteristic is worth writing about. So that's what I mean by very tight. Make sure every single sentence supports the topic sentence. Don't give me any random sentence like one time she baked at a baking show. If I'm talking about my mom bakes like a pro, remember that example? topic sentence, bakes like a pro. Then every detail is to prove why she bakes like a pro. The fact that she baked one time at a baking event may or may not support it. Depends on how I write it. Maybe I could say she was so good that she was invited to a baking competition. That would support it. But one time she baked a lemon cake for my teacher would not support it unless it said, when she baked a lemon cake for my teacher, she said it was the best cake she ever had. So how you write these details will support your topic sentence. Make sure your paragraph has at least 5 sentences. It may need more like 7. Make sure it has a clear topic sentence. That part should be easy because if you did the assignment last week correctly, you have a whole library of topic sentences to choose from, or a topic sentence bank. And then try your best to avoid standalone be verbs. So we talked about this last week too. That would be verbs like am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been. Okay, so avoid those. And avoid sentences like there are. There are many reasons that my mom bakes like a pro. Make sure your assignment has a heading, which is your name, date, and assignment. Make sure it has a title, which is different from the assignment. The assignment is descriptive paragraph. The title might be my mom bakes, or my mom is a pro, or something like that. Type your paragraph with 12-point font. You get to choose the font. And unless your parent or teacher says you don't have to type it, that would only be the exception. And then make sure you turn it in on time. So parents, if you are grading this, these are the objectives they have to meet, which would be 8 total. I have 7 numbers, but the 8th one would be the descriptive paragraph. If the genre is descriptive, if they meet that requirement along with the other 7, they would have 8. So it would be an 8 out of 8. And of course you can weight it or convert it to a percentage for your grade book, however you prefer. And this needs to be turned in next week. So I will see you later.